In accordance with what was established prior to the adjournment, we move now to the appointment of members of PPC and planning. If we deal first with PPC, and in accordance with Standing Order 122, I would invite the chair of PPC to nominate 3 elected members who are neither ministers or assistant ministers as candidates for membership. Deputy Alves.
Thank you, sir. I would like to nominate the Constable of St Helier, Senator Valois, and the Constable of St Martin's. I would hope that members will accept all of my nominations for the membership of this new PPC. I have tried to achieve a balance between continuity and new blood. I've proposed some new members in the shape of the Constable of St Martin and Senator Valois, who only joined the committee at its last meeting. I believe that if we are to make progress, we need to be able to work effectively together, and I firmly believe that the names I've put forward will produce a balanced and dedicated team. Thank you, sir.
Who are those nominations seconded?
Yes, sir.
Are there any other nominations? Deputy Wigginton.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I would like to add another member to the list for members to consider. I'd like to put forward the Constable of St John. The Constable of St John was a member of PPC this term for 2 years until he had to step down. And he was, I know, a valued member of the committee for the previous chairman, and I think he would be a valued member on the team.
Thank you very much, Deputy. Is that nomination seconded?
Yes, sir.
Very well. Are there any other nominations? Deputy of St Martin.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to nominate Senator Steve Pallett.
And is that nomination seconded? Is the nomination seconded?
Yes, sir.
Well, are there any other nominations? Very well. If there are no other nominations, in accordance with Standing Order 1224, we will take a secret vote, and the candidate to receive the highest number of votes will be appointed. So I would ask members to remember that they can. The voting link has not been posted for whoever is expressing concern at this point. Members can vote for up to 3 candidates on the voting link. So we are now going to post a link into the chat. I remind members they can vote for up to 3 candidates, and the candidates who receive the highest number of votes will be appointed. I open the voting and invite members to vote.
Sorry, sir, the link only allows us to vote for 1.
Yeah, I'm having that problem, sir.
In which case, will members please ignore that particular link? We will cancel it, and we will put up another link which enables individuals to vote for, members to vote for 3, and it'll just take a moment to do that. So we'll go on pause.
Excuse me, sir, I was late. It's Deputy Southern here. I was late tuning in to it. What vote are we having here? The voting for
this is the vote for membership of PPC, those members who are neither ministers nor assistant ministers. Deputy Alves has proposed the Connétable St Helier, Senator Valois the Connétable St Martin. Deputy Wickenden has proposed the Connétable St John, and the Deputy of St Martin has proposed Senator Pallett. And when the voting link has been placed up, which we will do shortly, it's not yet there, then members can open the link and vote for up to 3 members. I'm afraid we have technical difficulties in as much as we cannot put up a link which enables members to vote for 3 individuals. Members can only vote 1 at a time. There would therefore either have to be a succession of links, or a more practical way of dealing with the matter may be for members to vote for their 3 candidates by email, directed to the Deputy Greffier, Lisa Hart, and the Assistant Greffier, and to send their selection of 3 to those emails, and then the counting can be done. We won't probably declare the result until later on in the afternoon, but at least we can work out that's the best way of doing it, because there's no other way of doing a secret ballot, I'm afraid. We thought that there was, but it appears there's not at this point. So I would therefore ask members to email Lisa Hart and Tim Oldham, the Deputy Greffier and Assistant Greffier, with their 3 choices, and that will ensure a secret ballot.
So can you just repeat 3 candidates? Yes.
Yes, certainly. Deputy Alves has proposed the Connétable St Helier, Senator Valois, and the Connétable St Martin. Deputy Wickenden has proposed the Connétable St John, and the Deputy of St Martin has proposed Senator Pallett. The candidates are accordingly the Connétable St Helier, Senator Valois, the Connétable St Martin, the Connétable St John, and Senator Pallett. And from those 5 names, 3 need to be voted. If one opens the voting form, even though you can't vote on it, you will see, I think, the names of the candidates. Thank you, Deputy Burrell, for that suggestion.
Would you mind saying again who
Yes,
the second person to send to is, sir?
Yes, just one moment. We may have solved the technical difficulty. Hold on.
Sir, Deputy Morrow here. If we only vote for 2, would that invalidate our vote, or is that still a valid vote?
No, you can vote for up to 3.
Up to 3. Thank you very much.
But if you hold on from doing anything at the moment, we're just seeing if we can solve the technical problem. In order to keep members properly informed, there are optimistic murmurings coming from the Gref's table. So if members will bear with us for a moment, we'll see what can be achieved. Well, the greffier is about to post a link into the chat. Apparently, it's impossible to remove the first two parts, but if members, when they open the link, scroll down, they will see that there is a choice of 5 candidates. Members will please vote for up to 3 candidates. If any member votes for more than 3 candidates, that will inevitably result in a spoiled ballot from that member, I think. Or is that possible, Griffin? All right, so I open the voting and invite members to vote, and we will see where that takes us.
That just worked for me, sir.
Thank you very much indeed. That's very helpful.
Yeah, it's working fine in distance at ones as well, so thank you.
So I just voted, but I also voted by email, so they can ignore the email. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will be ignoring any emails now on the basis that members are able to vote using the link. It appears that voting returns are being made over the link, and when a sufficient number have been received, I will close the voting and we'll do the count. It may take a little while to do the count. I'm not sure if that can be done automatically or not. We shall see.
So can I thank the GREF team for getting this together? Once again, it would appear that our assembly is leading the way in this type of technology. It's marvellous.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Yes.
On their behalf, as they can't speak at the moment. Thank you very much indeed, Deputy. And I think at the moment they're not entirely confident that they've achieved the results, but are hopeful. And as everyone knows, the GREF works enormously hard to support both the sittings of the Assembly and members generally, and this is one such example. "43 members have voted. If members have had the opportunity of voting, I ask the greffier to close the voting, and we will return with the result as soon as we're able to do so. There we are. The Connétable St Helier, Senator Valois, and the Connétable St Martin are duly elected, having achieved the highest number of votes each of the 5 candidates. Very well.
I'd like to thank members for their support with that. Thank you.
Very much. Well, we now move on to the next stage, which is in accordance with Standing Order 1225. Chair, you now need to nominate, having consulted with the Chief Minister, 2 members who are ministers or assistant ministers.
Thank you, sir. So the Chief Minister has written to me and I have accepted his nominations, and they are Deputy Russell Labby and Deputy Gregory Guida. Thank you, sir.
Are those nominations seconded?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Are there any other nominations for members who are either ministers or assistant ministers? Very well. If there are no other nominations, in accordance with Standing Order 1227, I can confirm that Deputy Labby and Deputy Guida are appointed as members of PPC. We come now to the final part of this process. In accordance with Standing Order 1229, you must nominate a member who is a member of the Scrutiny Liaison Committee. Do you make a nomination, Chair?
Yes, thank you, sir. That nomination is Deputy Mary Lehegera.
Is that nomination seconded?
Yes, sir.
Are there any other nominations? Senator Moore, you asked to speak.
So it was actually for the previous round of nominations for a ministerial candidate.
Oh, you had wished to put forward a candidate?
I did, but perhaps I wasn't seen in time.
I don't think you were, because I looked for quite some time to see if there were any other nominations. Are there any other nominations for the member who's part of the Scrutiny Liaison Committee? Very well, if there are no other nominations, in accordance with Standing Order 12211, I can confirm that Deputy Lehegara has been appointed as a member of PPC. That fully constitutes PPC, and we now turn to planning. In accordance with Standing Order 125A, Chair, you will need to indicate the number of members you wish to have on your committee, which must be not less than 3 and no more than 9, and nominate them accordingly.
Thank you, sir.
Trinity, who do you nominate?
Thank you, sir. I would like to nominate 9 members, obviously including myself. First of all, Deputy Graham Truscott as Vice Chairman, Deputy Kirsten Morell, Deputy Lindsay Ash, Deputy Roland Hewlin, Deputy Scott Wickenden, the Connétable of St Lawrence, Deputy Steve Luce, and Deputy Mary Lehegara. Thank you, sir.
Are those nominations seconded?
Yes, sir.
Are there any other nominations for the Planning Committee? If there are no other nominations, then in accordance with Standing Order 125A, I beg your pardon, wrong standing order, there are no other nominations according to Standing Order 125A3. I can confirm the Deputy Truscott, Deputy Morell, Deputy Ash, Deputy St Peter, Deputy Wickenden, the Deputy of St Martin and Deputy Lehegara are duly appointed as members of the Planning Committee.
Thank you, sir. If I could thank the members for supporting my choice or my team, and for particularly for the new members, to mention that the first public meeting of the committee will be on Thursday, the 25th of February, and there will be site visits on Tuesday, the 23rd. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much indeed, Connétable. We now return to public business, and the next item is the Draft Taxation Companies Economic Substance Amendment number 2, Jersey Law, lodged by the Minister for External Relations. The main responder is the Chair of the Economic and International Affairs Scrutiny Panel, and I ask the greffier to read out the citation.
Draft Taxation Companies Economic Substance Amendment number 2, Jersey Law 2000, a law to further amend the Taxation Companies Economic Substance Jersey Law 2019. The states, subject to the sanction of Her Most Excellent Majesty in Council, have adopted the following law.
Could I just interject? When I was reading out the successful candidates, I think I forgot to mention the Connétable of St Lawrence, she's reminded me of that, and I should have named her if I did not. So, I apologise.
Thank you, sir.
Very well. Yes, Minister.
Thank you very much, sir. This legislation amends the Companies Economic Substance Jersey Law, which members will recall was brought in order to show that we were a jurisdiction of substance, and it arose out of our conversations with the EU and the Code of Conduct Group on matters of business taxation. There are 2 amendments to this amendment, sir. One of them takes what is currently required in guidance around the fund exemption and puts it into on the face of the legislation to make it clearer. And the second is an amendment in regard to self-managed funds and brings them into the scope of the legislation. This was part of the political commitment that the Jersey government gave to the Code of Conduct Group back in December 2007 that we do more work on this. As I say, sir, they are straightforward amendments to the substance legislation. I'd like to also say, sir, that scrutiny have been engaged on these amendments, and I'm grateful for their input and their time in that regard, sir. So I maintain the principle, sir.
Thank you very much. Minister, are the principles seconded?
Yes, sir.
Any member wish to speak on the principles? Deputy St Mary.
Yes, thank you. Apologies for the delay. Yes, sir, just to confirm what the Minister said, the Minister and his officers gave a very full presentation to the panel. We are appreciative of what the aim of the legislation is and the reasons for it, and we fully support it. Thank you, sir.
Any other member wish to speak on the principles? If no other member wishes to speak on the principles, then I close the debate and call upon the Minister to respond.
Thank you, sir. Yes, again, I thank the scrutiny panel for their engagement on this subject. As ever, it's greatly appreciated, and I maintain the principles, sir. Thank you, and call for the appel.
Yeah. I'd ask the greffier, therefore, to post a voting link into the chat. I open the voting and ask members to vote in the normal way. Members have had the opportunity of casting their votes. I ask the greffier to close the voting. The principles have been adopted. 40 votes pour, no votes contre, no abstentions. May I take it that the Economic and International Affairs Scrutiny Panel do not wish to scrutinise the matter in the light of what's been said?
Yes, you take that rightly, sir.
Thank you very much indeed. We come to second reading. How do you wish to propose the articles, Minister?
Yes, indeed, en bloc, sir. As I said earlier, they are two straightforward amendments, Articles 1, 2, 3 and 4, and they bring into the face of the law the funds exemption, and they create the need for self-managed funds to show substance. So I maintain them in second reading, sir.
Are they seconded for second reading?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Does any member wish to speak in second reading? If no member wishes to speak in second reading, then I close the debate and ask the greffier to place a voting link into the chat. I open the voting and ask members to vote. If members have had the opportunity of casting their votes, I ask the greffier to close the voting. The articles have been adopted in second reading. 39 votes pour, no votes contre, no abstentions in the link, and a further 2 votes pour in the chat. Do you propose the matter in third reading, Minister?
Indeed I do, sir, and I just want to thank all those officials who engaged directly with the Code of Conduct group in the global markets and wider external relations team, as well as the international tax teams in the Treasury. So this is ongoing work. It's often challenging work, but they do their island proud, and I'm very grateful to them. So thank you.
Very much. Is it seconded for third reading?
Yes, sir.
Does any member wish to speak? Connie Tarverson?
Thank you, sir. I'd just like to endorse my minister's comments, and also just to remind the Assembly that the Jersey funds industry is a very important part of our financial services industry. We currently have 365 billion under management and a total of 781 vehicles registered in the island, and this number does not include private fund vehicles registered in Jersey. So it's a very valuable and important part of our industry and worthy of our support. Thank you, sir.
Any other member wish to speak in third reading? No member wishes to speak in third reading. Then I close the debate and call upon the Minister to respond.
So I don't think there's any need to respond. My Assistant Minister eloquently reminding members the importance of the fund sector and of course the wider financial services industry to our community and the resilience that they have shown throughout this COVID pandemic, and we're grateful for everyone who works in that sector. So thank you.
Thank you very much. In which case I ask the greffier to post a link into the chat. And I open the voting and ask members to vote.
So for some reason my chat's disappeared completely.
Also, there's mine. It might be international then.
So that means you're unable to access the link. If you wish to indicate, well, Deputy Martin, you've already indicated a vote in the link, in the chat, I mean.
Yeah, it's just I can't see it, so it's all gone wibbly wobbly. Thank you, but yeah, it's registered. Thank you.
So might I suggest to members that they just press on their chat button again, and that will resolve it?
Yeah, just to reload.
Well, Chief Minister, you also indicated your vote in the chat, wibbly wobbly, chat or not.
Okay, the technical advice from Deputy Lewis and Deputy Truscott has been well received, so it works. Thanks.
Thank you very much. If members have now had the opportunity of casting their votes, I ask greffier to close the voting. The law has been adopted in third reading. 40 votes pour, no votes contre, no abstentions in the link, and a further 2 votes pour notified in the chat. The next item is a skate park at Les Canaves Sports Centre, P1, lodged by Senator Pallett. And I ask the greffier to read that proposition. An amendment was lodged by the Minister for Economic Development, Tourism, Sport and Culture. Senator, do you accept that amendment or do you wish it to be taken in due course? Senator Pallett.
No, sir, I don't accept the amendment, sir.
Very well. I'll ask the greffier to read the proposition in that case.
The states are asked to decide whether they're of opinion, A, to agree that the new skate park be located at Le Kennevet Sports Centre, St Brelard, and B, to request the Minister of Infrastructure to bring forward a formal planning application for a new skate park at Le Kennevet Sports Centre no later than 26th of February 2021.
Senator.
Sir.
Deputy Young, yes?
Yes, I wanted to, obviously, as we've heard in the proposition, it does refer to a planning application. So, sir, I think because this is likely to be an application and whatever the result, I think I need to declare an interest and withdraw from this particular debate, sir. Because of that, I may have to decide an appeal. I don't know, but I'm going to withdraw that. If please, that can be recorded, please.
Yes, that is recorded. Thank you very much, Deputy. Yes, Senator Pallett. Oh, I beg your pardon, Deputy Truscott.
Just following on from the Minister, sir, could you give advice for the Planning Committee? Because I'm sure either location could end up as an appeal. Just your view on that, please, sir.
Sir, I think you're muted.
My own view is that where I understand the position of the Minister, who's a single voice at the end of the process, I think the committee itself, it involves a significant number of members of the Assembly. It is a matter that the committee will hear all of this information once again, one way or the other. And in my view, it would not be appropriate for members of the committee to withdraw from the debate. Certainly not necessary to do so.
Thank you for your advice, sir.
Yes. Now, Senator Pallett.
Thank you, sir. To make best use of members' time, it's not my intention to repeat myself within the proposition and the amendment from the Minister. So to be clear, I'll speak on the site proposed at Le Kennevet Sports in my opening speech on P1 2021 and deal with the alternative site, the Southfield Gardens, when I respond to the amendment. So just briefly in regards to the amendment, I'm a little bit disappointed that this amendment was accepted for debate, considering the fundamental change it will make to my proposition if approved by members. Standing Order 20 rules out an order or amendment that wholly negates the original proposition, and this amendment, in my view, clearly does that. Including satellite facilities in both the east and the west of the island, as stated in Part A of the amendment, is not a new addition, in my opinion. Satellite facilities were part of the original government plan case for a skate park that this Assembly agreed both in 2019 and again in 2020. Should this amendment be successful, then I'd be left with a proposition that is 180 degrees different to the one I lodged. But I have to accept that that may well be the case. So it's disappointing that I've had to bring this proposition today, as the formal decision to build a new skate park at Le Kennevet Sports Centre was taken over a year ago following the required public consultation. The government press release of the 22nd of January 2020 was clear when it stated that respondents supported the conclusion of a detailed assessment of site suitability that Le Kennevet Sports Centre is the most suitable site for a large facility by a proportion of approximately 4:1. The press release also said that funding for the skate park had been approved in the government plan and that this funding will be available for additional skate-friendly areas elsewhere in the island. There was also a quote included from the Jersey Skate Park Association that concluded that we've worked closely with government throughout the process of selecting the location and feel that the planned site will provide the best overall experience for park users. It also followed the unanimous support of the Council of Ministers, including Senator Farnham, for not only the location of the new skate park at Le Kennevet Sports Centre, but also the need for additional satellite facilities. The minute from the Council of Ministers meeting stated that they commended the detailed evaluation criteria used and the thoroughness of the resulting report, the site suitability report. Then why have we managed to reach the point that we are currently at? Well, that's a really good question, and one that I intend to explain, especially my part in the process, and show that not only did I follow all the processes that were felt necessary to deliver a new skate park for the urban sports community in Jersey, but that I did it collaboratively with officers. The same officers, I believe, ultimately took decisions that they were not in a position to make, that has led to a further unnecessary delay in delivering a new skate park for islanders and potentially wasting valuable funding that could be spent on satellite facilities around the island. I hope members have read my report, as I do not want to spend too long going over the process that led to the decision to build the new main skate park at Llanelwedd Sports Centre. Briefly though, after highlighted antisocial issues in early 2018 at the new North Quay, Ports of Jersey took the decision on safety grounds to close the main skate park facility on the site. To be clear, those health and safety issues still exist today, which is why it's important that a new site for the skate park is found without any further unnecessary delay. Ports of Jersey have been clear that their current business plan has other uses for this commercial site, and although they are keen to help in the process, the time frame for vacating the site is a matter that concerns them greatly. Under a licence agreement with the department, the site reopened in late February 2018 with enhanced management of the site, and that remains the position at present. After a well-attended and focused public meeting in the Town Hall in February 2018, it was decided that as part of the process to identify a new site for a skate park, that an options appraisal and social case for a new skate park should be undertaken. Throughout 2018, this was carried out by a specialist consultant, PMR Sports and Leisure, and this resulted in a report being published in November 18 that clearly set out the need for a new skate park and provided a list of preferred sites, plus a list of others that key stakeholders, such as the newly formed Jersey Skate Park Association, had identified. The report, though, was clear that any site for a new skate park should take into account that it could be built without disproportionate initial or long-term costs, and that any unnecessary legal, planning, environmental or development issues were to be avoided. The 4 preferred sites at the time included Llanelwedd Sports Centre, but did not include South Hill Gardens. There is no doubt that the skating community preferred a town site, but were cognizant that site availability was potentially going to be an issue. I think it's important for me to state that I personally have no hidden agenda or preference on where this main skate park should go, and frankly agree with users that a town site would be desirable. But, and a very big but, it has to be a suitable site that meets all the necessary criteria and does not involve the sort of unnecessary planning, legal or development issues that the PMR report highlighted. As laid out in my report to the proposition, a site suitability report was carried out by the then GHE department, which is now IHE, and that report looked at the suitability of 15 possible sites using 13 different weighted criteria. The most suitable site identified within this report was Llanelwedd Sports Centre, and I will shortly go through why it was considered the most suitable site, even though it was clearly not situated in the preferred area of St Helier. I do not need to go through what the site at Llanelwedd offers to skate park users, even though we are going to debate an alternative at South Hill. Sorry, I do need to go through what the site at Llanelwedd offers to skate park users. I'd be daft if I didn't, even though we are going to debate an alternative at South Hill Gardens, as in my opinion, there's been some misleading information provided recently about aspects at the site at Llanelwedd, which needs to be put straight once and for all. Prior to any preparation work on a planning application for Llanelwedd, and to meet the requirements laid down by the Council of Ministers, a public consultation was held to allow nearby residents, parishioners, Llanelwedd Sports Centre users and the general public an opportunity to give their views on Llanelwedd as the site for a new main skate park. An open event was organised and attended by both users, residents and the general public, and although some strong opinions were heard, it was clear that the concerns raised did not give any reason as to why Llanelwedd Sports Centre could not be progressed to a planning application. The decision was therefore taken to progress with the site And as I have said, a press release was issued in January 2020, over a year ago, stating that this was the route government were going to take. As my report states, a project team was set up to manage the process of delivering a new skate park at Llanelli. That included a project manager from IHE and the sports division's operations manager. Regular meetings were held throughout 2020 with progress reports being provided on a regular basis. As far as I was concerned, the project was progressing well throughout 2020, although the effects of the pandemic did create some delay in the timing of a planning application, but that it was expected an application would be submitted in November 2020. The date was constant in the progress reports throughout 2020. In recent briefings provided to the department and within the feasibility study for Southfield Gardens, it is stated that concerns were raised as early as June 2020 by internal and external stakeholders about the decision to locate the main skate park at Llanelli. I can categorically state that such concerns were not raised with me until I was asked to visit Southfield Gardens on the 28th of September 2020 by the Sports Division's Operations Manager. I was informed at this meeting that a desktop review had already taken place on alternative sites to Llanelli Sports Centre as the location for the main skate park. And I was frankly amazed and disappointed that such a review had been authorised without the courtesy of informing me. As the Assistant Minister with delegated responsibility for sport and as political lead on the project, I should have been formally notified that any such review of the review and any reasons behind it. It states in the amendment of P1 from the Minister on page 3 that before a significant sum of public funds was committed to the project, a review was commissioned by the incoming Acting Director General with political support, taking into account various voices which had been heard, raising the question again as to why the site was not in St Helier and how the Llanelli site might practically work. As a politician responsible for this project, who exactly was providing the political support to allow a review of a decision that had been formally made by politicians, been given unanimous support from the Council of Ministers? Since I found out about this, I've had the view that this is all the feel of the tail wagging the dog. And it's always been my view that it's the job of officers to implement policy and decisions and not to take it on themselves to carry out reviews behind the relevant minister's back. To repeat, I did not ask for a review of the alternative sites to take place. So if another minister did agree to it, can they own up to it? Otherwise, the position we find ourselves in today can squarely be laid at the door of officers interfering with a political decision. As I've said, I received progress reports from the project manager throughout 2020, and the last full report I received on the 4th of September 2020, providing detail around the progress made to date and the plans for the following month, along with the usual financial, and also had the usual financial report. Nowhere in that particular report does it mention any concerns that have been raised by any stakeholder over the siting of the skate park at Llanelli, or that any new review of sites had been commissioned. In fact, plans for October included agreeing a communications plan, preparing a child impact assessment for the site, continuing the design of satellite facilities, and a survey to be carried out and drawings prepared for the adjacent pavilion building, which, to be clear to members, are changing rooms and toilets that are adjacent to the proposed site. It was also stated that the date of submission for a planning application, as I have said, was November 20. I had therefore no reason to believe the project was not on track. Going back briefly to the meeting I had with the operations manager on the 28th of September 2020 at Southfield Gardens, it was at that meeting that the bombshell of an alternative site was raised with me. I have a great deal of respect for both the sports division's operations manager, who I've worked closely with for over 5 years, and similar respect for the skate park project manager, who's passionate about work. And it was because of my respect for both of them that I reluctantly agreed to a feasibility on South Hill Gardens to take place. That mistake was mine, and I apologise to members for not sticking to my guns at the time and insisting we got on with the project as planned. I did, though, register my displeasure at what was being proposed, as I wrote to the operations manager, the project manager, and the interim director general of IHE on the 7th of October 2020. And some of the comments I made were, I'm extremely wary of delay with this project. There are an awful lot of unknowns in regards to South Hill. And as much as it's on the outskirts, there are many issues that may render the site unusable as a skate park. And I need to see some real progress on this project by the end of the month if I'm not to ask that all focus is centred on Llanelli as the site for the main skate park. As I say, I know that it was a mistake on my part to agree to the feasibility study, but essentially I expected to rule out a site that had previously been rejected. Unfortunately, the study has been used to promote an alternative to Llanelli Sports Centre that I'm afraid is substandard, dangerous and riddled with a number of planning risks. But I'll go into that further detail about South Hill and its problems when we come to the amendment. I did feel, though, it was important to explain to members why I agreed to the feasibility study being carried out. Moving on, quarterly hearing with the Economic Development Minister in last December, the change of site for a new skate park was brought up by the Economic and International Affairs Scrutiny Panel. Jersey Sports' views on the change of site was mentioned in that they'd requested an alternative site to be considered and a review conducted. In an email I've received from the CEO of Jersey Sport, it is clear her concerns were not about the location of the skate park at Llanelli, but more around the future use of the park. I certainly do not hold Jersey Sport responsible in any way for the position we find ourselves in today, and felt it important that I put the record straight on that as well. Moving back to the site at the Llanelli Sports Centre and the criteria that was used to assess the site in the site suitability report. As we know, the Llanelli was judged to be the most suitable site in the report, and that was based on a number of factors. It's in the ownership of the state, it has no covered leases in place on the site, and has the required space for a skate park. On the issue of the proposed skate park will be around 2,000 square metres of a site that overall has 134,000 square metres of activity space. I'm going to say that again. We're using 2,000 square metres of a site that overall has 134,000 square metres of activity space, not including the sports centre building or the car park. The site selected was chosen because it will have no impact on any of the current sporting activity on the site. No loss of football pitches or cricket pitches, softball or any other sport. I hope members have had an opportunity to go and have a look at the site, because when you go up there, you can understand the scale of the site. And when you consider what we're putting onto it, it's going to have no effect whatsoever. Unfortunately, there have been some negative comments from some sports within the recent online survey on the siting of a skate park at Llanelli, which I found particularly disappointing, considering the respect that most sports people have for their respective sports. Sport in Jersey is and supportive community in general. We must embrace urban sports into that community, considering this summer in Japan will hopefully see skateboarding and BMX becoming Olympic sports. The site at Llanelli is in the built-up area, and although designated open space, it is already in sports use. There are no listed buildings or places involved on the site, and although situated near to La Blanche Banque, which is an SSI, the site itself is contained within the sports centre perimeter. Public access to La Blanche Banque will exist whether a skate park is built or not, and to suggest this is a planning risk, I believe, is somewhat overstated. There are parking facilities within the sports centre itself, and Llanelli, as we know, is well served by the number 15 bus, the most frequent and well-used bus route in the island. The site also has excellent walking and cycling routes, which improves the opportunities for islanders to visit Llanelwedd Sports Centre for all sorts of sporting activities. So somebody's got their mic on, I don't know if you can hear it.
It could be me. I will turn it off. I can't hear.
Oh, sorry, sir.
No.
I'll carry on. As I've said, there are toilets situated. As I've said, unlike what was stated in a briefing that I heard, where this was stated that they weren't, that they were actually storage space, that there are toilets situated in the adjacent pavilion that could be utilised for skate park users, and the pavilion itself could also offer both changing facilities and maybe a small shop for skate park users if that was deemed necessary. There are no residential or business premises within 50 metres of the site, and the nearest residential property is approximately 350 metres away from the perimeter of the proposed skate park site. And I know that because I've measured it. There are good ground conditions for excavation and engineering in that it's sand and has no contaminated soil. The site is flat, has drainage and other services nearby. Its current use is a sports playing field. Importantly, from the point of management, there are sports centre staff present 7 days a week that manage the site, and there's also maintenance and ground staff situated on the site most of the week. In reality, the only criteria that prevents Llanelwedd Sports Centre being the perfect site, where there would be no question, is its location away from the main population of the island. But in reality, without a ready-to-go site in St Helier, one that will not either be refused or spend months in a difficult or impossible planning process, we need to confirm Llanelwedd Sports Centre as the site for our new skate park today. I've provided members with the St Helier satellite facilities plan, which also, as well as providing an insight into what could be achieved in and around St Helier, it also provides a financial breakdown of the skate park project as a whole if Llanelwedd was to be advanced as the site for the main skate park. The building of the skate park at Llanelwedd is estimated at 835,000 in this document, which leaves 450,000 of the overall budget of 1,285,000 for satellite facilities. Even if the cost of building at Llanelwedd has risen by 10% since last year, say to around 920,000, and accept that some funding has been wasted on an aborted bid to secure Southfield Gardens as the site for the new skate park, it would still leave significant funding of around £300,000 to design and build the desired and agreed satellite facilities. The feasibility report for Southfield Gardens provides a budget for constructing a skate park at this site of £1,157,500 of a remaining budget of £1,185,000, leaving only £27,500 for providing new satellite facilities. I cannot see how any decent satellite facilities can be delivered for this small budget. This also contradicts the content of Part A of the amendment, if approved, in that satellite facilities in the east and west of the island would not be affordable, as they would not be affordable within the available budget. A small sum of 75,000 has been allowed for decommissioning the equipment at New North Quay, but relocating any of this equipment, which is 13 years old and has been extremely well used to build satellite facilities elsewhere on the island, must be very limited due to the state of that equipment and the potential cost of installation. Even by their own admission in 7.4 of the feasibility study, building at Llanelwedd would allow satellite facilities in St Helier to be completed as set out in the satellite facilities plan, along with an underspend of £20,000. Submitting a planning application for Llanelwedd Sports Centre does, I believe, hold by far the better chance of success. fulfil the commitment made by the Council of Ministers to fund not only the new skate park, but also satellite facilities, and finally provide the urban sports community in Jersey with a skate park that finally meets their needs. As I say, sir, I'll comment further on South Hill Gardens in the amendment, but that's the end of my opening speech, sir. So I'm completed, sir. If we're going to do the amendment.
I
muted, sir.
Yes, I keep forgetting to unmute. I apologise to members. Deputy Higgins, you have a point of clarification.
Yes, sir, I do. Obviously, Senator Pallett came out with a great deal of detail, and we also had. Sorry, it's quite an echo. Can you hear me now, sir?
I can hear you, yes. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, there was a lot of detail in what Senator Pallett was giving us. And equally, we've had so many changes of names of departments and moving of staff. Could he just clarify for me today, this afternoon, whether the acting Director General, who was representing IHE in September of 2020, is the person he is referring to as the person who started the new study into the South Hill one? And again, if he knows who the person was who gave the political consent to that, would he please tell us? Thank you, sir.
Are you able to provide that clarification, Senator?
I can on one part of that and not on the other. The acting Director General at the time that I believe agreed to the review of all the sites to find an alternative for Lekenove Gardens is now the actual Director General, the new Director General. And in terms of who gave the political authorization for that review, to this day I still don't know, but it wasn't me.
Very well.
Clarification, sir. Has the Senator tried to find out who the political person was who gave the consent?
To be honest, I don't believe that political support was given to it. I think it may refer to me, but I can assure members that I've gone through every piece of documentation on skate park I have. And the first time I heard about any alternative site was in September 2020. So I didn't give it any political support. And that comment was only included in the feasibility study that came out some a week and a bit ago. So I haven't had the opportunity to investigate who that comment refers to. I'm sorry, I can't give any more detail than that to the deputy.
Well,
can I thank the Senator for his answer? And I hope whoever was, if anyone.
Well, I'm sorry, you merely sought a point of clarification. That clarification has been given. That if you make a comment that then after it's seconded, I'll take it as your speech, and I'm sure you'd wish the opportunity to speak if you can. Is the proposition seconded?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Very well. Then we now come on to the amendment. There's one amendment lodged by the Minister for Economic Development, Tourism, Sport and Culture, and I ask the greffier to read that amendment.
Page 2, paragraph A, for the words Lekenove Sports Centre St Bralard, substitute the words South Hill Gardens St Helier with satellite facilities in the west and east of the island. Page 2, paragraph B, for the words Lekenove Sports Centre, substitute the words South Hill Gardens.
Minister.
Thank you, sir. The Deputy of Trinity will act as rapporteur for the amendment. Thank you.
Deputy.
Thank you. Good afternoon to you all. I think it would be totally wrong of me to start talking about the past, and to some degree I would admit that some of the comments that Senator Pallett has made I am in agreement with, but I was looking forward to the debate this afternoon because it was my first opportunity to be able to know that we were happy to put skate parks into the island. And it was going to be an international size skate park at that. But whatever we decide here today, it's for our children and young people. We'll have a fantastic new facility or facilities. And I hope you listen to my words in facilities. We're already committed to this project, and that is absolutely no doubt. And it will be delivered. I can say that here and now. The only question is how, and of course where. What's more, we have the money to make this reality. And whilst I will question one of the statements made by Senator Pallett, and that is the figures of the money, but I'll come on to that later. And of course, in my experience, that's most unusual. It's the money that often causes the problem and not the siting of such a venture. So I thought we started this debate in a very good position. And I think we can safely say that at least Senator Pallett and I will agree that urban sports of the various kinds that would use a new skate park have a bright future in Jersey. He mentioned the fact about Alex Coburn and the BMX champion. Hopefully with an international skate park, we will have many more international and national stars. The reason I don't want to get into too much detail is that I think it would be wrong, bearing in mind that most of the people within the Assembly today would have, there's a bouncing back at me all the time. Hello?
I can hear you very clearly.
Is that okay? Yeah, sir.
I can hear you. I will mute my microphone and see if that assists you.
Thank you, sir. The situation is such that I think that we're all coming to the conclusion that it would be good to have 2 skate parks or 3 skate parks, as again Senator Pallett said.
Stop it, because I'm going to go on shortly.
Hello?
Yes, I'm sorry, Deputy, could I remind members to mute their own microphones? We've had a background from at least 2 separate participants who are not actually speaking. I wonder if members could mute their microphones until they're ready to speak. Thank you very much. Please carry on.
I mean, as we know, the facilities in St Heliers, St John's and St Wands, very small though they be, are immensely popular. They're vibrant, they're busy at all the time, even though they are relatively modest. And we here have an exciting opportunity, especially post-COVID, to really genuinely put children first. This vision is to provide a network of skate parks across the island so that wherever they live, a young person can get away from their computer, get outside and be active. So I'm hoping for a constructive debate today, which unfortunately has started a little uneasily for me, because I find hopefully calm where we can stay focused on the end goal, which is how we can do the very best for our children in this venture. But I have to put a context on it, very much so, following on from what Senator Pallett said. I didn't take over the sport lead until the 2nd week of December. I was immediately faced with some big issues that what was going to be happening in the future, Fort Regent, COVID's ongoing effect, and the facility plans for sport across the island, and the skate park, which I have to say I thought was not going to cause me too many problems. The previous head of sport had done a tremendous job in getting the money into the government plan to build such a venture, and I thought we were ready to go at Lekenevay. I had very little to do personally what had been happening over the last few years with regards to this venture, so I tried to start to get up to speed. I was told that a feasibility study had been passed in June to be carried out on South Hill Gardens. The idea behind this was that there was the possibility afterwards of a consultation process if South Hill Gardens came out okay. I hasten to add that this had all been approved before I took over the role. And I'm not trying to disregard my responsibilities, but I think it must be made clear that when you take on a portfolio and what you're given, you can only deduce from what you're given with regards to the portfolio. You will also appreciate that I was carrying on what I thought now today that the previous post holder wanted and had set in train. So then I waited for the feasibility study to be produced. And then I've been asked, why the U-turn? Why the sudden change of heart? For me, coming late to the project, it seemed logical and right to confirm we had chosen the right location before we moved to a planning application. I simply want the best quality facilities where the highest number of users can benefit from them. Again, Senator Pallett talks about previous things that were going on in 2018, 19 and 20, where the money was available and everybody was ready to go. So I'm slightly confused with some of the comments that have been made. Of course, the biggest issue of population density is absolutely central to do this. We know that the highest concentration of users live in and around town. And although the bus service is good to Llanelli, we have to be honest that if you're a young person in town or in St Saviour with access to mum's car, getting to Liberation Station then onwards might not happen as often as we hope. For many of those living in the eastern end of the island, Llanelli is effectively out of their reach. It is vitally important for children to have the best possible access to this facility. There is no question that South Hill is more accessible to those that can cycle and walk. Llanelli is accessible to the west, but to the majority of islanders, they will need to drive, bus, or be dropped off by parents. Issue of equity comes into play here as well, because if children do not have the ability to get lifts from parents, the cost of using public transport will put off some of the children going to Llanelli. I actually did refer to one survey carried out in 2018, which showed that young people supported St Helier as the site for the skate park. So that's where I'm just questioning what Senator Pallett's information was as opposed to mine. And this seemed like common sense. The consultation last year focused solely on Llanelli because this has scored highest in a desktop survey, and it didn't ask about St Helier. The latest consultation, which I thought had been passed and agreed, in January spread the net wider once again, and 2/3 of respondents in this self-selecting survey preferred St Helier as the main site. And can I just say, it was St Helier as the main site. And I totally respect the fact that Senator Pallett has agreed that we all know that the vast majority of the people that are using skate park do live in and around St Helier. We then asked the Children's Commission and the Jersey Youth Service for their views. Both support the idea of having the main site in St Helier. Members will be aware that the Jersey Skate Association are supporting a St Helier skate park as their preferred option. It's important we take notice of these voices. You have to understand, I took notice of these voices because what I thought were the people representing the people with regards to the skate park. This tends to not be the case from some of the comments that Senator Pallett had made. Aside from travel, a number of concerns have been raised about Llanelli site as well, including the proximity to Les Blanches Bank and an environmental SSI, again, which Senator Pallett has mentioned. It's relatively remote and right next to existing sports pitches. Residents near both sites have expressed concerns, and I've had quite a few emails on that. In planning terms, let's be fair, both Llanelli and South Hill are challenging, but they are achievable, as they always are with major projects in Jersey. We know there are issues that need to be mitigated, and we make no bones about the fact that we've been advised and that they can be resolved. Planning applications will require detailed information that work through the environment, geological and social concerns. The planning issues have been very much part of my email box of late. Initial discussions have taken place with the appropriate departments. I can confirm that I've read the reports from the officers about both sites, especially concerning South Hill with its historic environment being maintained, as well as some of the archaeological reports. I know people are concerned about the unique geology and archaeology of the South Hill area. I can reassure members that there is no intention to do any harm to it. Quite the opposite. Sensitive and complementary designs can enhance historic areas. It doesn't have to be a choice between history or contemporary life. They can coexist. The site is within a former quarry. The important geological structures are on top of Mount Bingham, therefore vertically separated from the development. The skate park will not be built on it. The important ecology is at the top of the neighbouring hillsides, therefore vertically separated. Any proposals will enhance the planting and ecology of the area and not damage it. The proposal is in a listed space. The space was created by quarrying for the construction of Fort Regent, as many people know. We're simply allowing it to be further used, much like the driving bay, the footpaths and the steps and the large electricity substation that has already been built within the listed area. A skate park would not lose the space for the place. It allows our heritage landscape to be used in a new way for the next generation than becoming an area which is forgotten, little used and little loved. Can I say at this point as well, I can only go, very much like Senator Pallett previously, I can only go on what I am given and what I believe are the professional returns of what people are saying. And I can confirm to all islanders that we have taken ecology advice, are in consultations relating to heritage and safety issues, and we're confident that this can be a facility we will be proud of, which is safe for users and can be accessible to all islanders. There's also a wider vision. We wanted the Assembly to have the chance to consider South Hill for the skate park because of the incredible opportunities it offers to bring the whole area to life. With the skate park being just one element of a family recreation hub right on the edge of town, potentially playgrounds for the youngsters, reinvigorated gardens, and potentially for older islanders who have put their half-pipe days behind them. There is the ability to further enhance the whole South Hill area as part of larger development plans for South Hill offices and Fort Regent in the government plan. South Hill needs to be seen as the endpoint in the chain of linked open spaces, which will provide leisure, recreation and open air opportunities. Questions have been asked about road safety at South Hill, and I've asked the team again to look at access and egress with the road south, and the team, following professional advice, have come back to me with suggestions and ideas again, which we need to look at in more detail for the planning application. But it is in the intention to have the access from the north Fort Regent. We have looked at both sites with regards to public conveniences and cafes. And I don't really want to go into how far is it to go from there to there and back again with regards to toilets and cafes and that. And as I said, otherwise we just go backwards and forwards and we're not getting anywhere. You will see that we have looked at both sites, or I particularly have looked at both sites, and know both sites very well now. And hopefully I've given you a vision as to why we lodged the amendment for the skate park to be at South Hill. But be rest assured that all concerns will be considered, whatever site is chosen. And can I say, personally, I have no pressure in myself because we want the skate park. There is no doubt there is a case to be made for two such sites. Remember, first and foremost, that the St Helier option will have more visitors due to the closeness to the largest skateboard population in the island and will be certainly more accessible to all. That is very much what I want to say at the present time, bearing in mind that some of the comments, and I'm sure some of the comments from the Assembly members that will be wanting to speak now. Thank you, sir.
The amendment is seconded, sir. I think you might be on mute again, sir.
Thank you. The amendment is seconded. Deputy Higgins, you raised initially a desire to speak, and then you said it was a point of clarification. You'll have to choose which you're going to do before you do it, but whichever it is, would you like to do it now?
I'll do it as a speech, sir, but what I will say, I accept the need for a skate park, and I must admit that I'm somewhat agnostic about whether it's at Lacheneve or South Hill. Although I must say I do have some concerns about the South Hill site because of archaeology, etc. What I am concerned about, though, is good governance, and I'm really concerned about who made the decision to change from Lacheneve to South Hill. Was it officers or was there political decisions made and political direction? I think the states have a right to know. And as I say, I shall vote for whichever scheme. I vote for either, but I am concerned about the process that was adopted. I'm also concerned about consultation, and I would like assurances from someone later on about the quality of the consultation. I haven't seen the questions that were used in the consultation, and therefore I can't say whether they were leading or not. But I do wonder if there was another agenda here, and I would like more information before I cast my vote. Thank you, sir.
Very much indeed. Deputy Higgins, comment on the board.
Thank you, sir. I was listening very intently to the speeches that have been made so far, Senator Pallett and also the Deputy of Trinity. And one thing that sticks out from the Deputy of Trinity's speech, which sticks in my mind, is that he said that we want the best quality facilities with the highest number of users. And my speech today is really designed to look at it from a skater's point of view. And as the Customers for Once, I have a peculiarly close association with skaters because the St Wands skate park is right outside my window. So I'm able to observe the activity on there, which is of a very high level most of the time. Indeed, sometimes you wonder why some of the people who are there aren't in school, but that's another issue. So there's no doubt that there's a need for and a demand for a full-size skate park in Jersey. One only has to go down to the current park located at the Old Harbour to see how busy it is, full of youngsters enjoying healthy outdoor exercise in pursuit of their hobby. From a St Heliers skate-based skater's point of view, the location is ideal, being very close to town, the town centre, and indeed a short walk from most of the outskirts of St Helier, which, as I'm sure everyone knows, and I don't need to be told by me, is the most densely populated area of the island. Access is easy across a main road using a pelican crossing. Indeed, the site ticks almost all of the boxes required for users based in town, offering cheap, easy access, being just across the road from the bus station. More broadly, the demand for skate parks in the island is island-wide. For example, the ramp at St Wands Parish Hall has had so much use that it wore out. Literally, the ramp wore out, and the parish helped the youth club replace repair the skate park. So, as my colleague, the Constable Sir Clements, will rightly remind us, there is also a very strong demand in the east of the island, which needs to be satisfied too. Therefore, the amendment before us has in many ways an inescapable logic. There is a strong demand for facilities in both the eastern and western parishes. The site proposed for Kennerby could still be developed if the amendment succeeds, as the main western population is south of St Peters and in St Brellards themselves. So the Kennerby, from the perspective of a western-based skater, is a good location. So there are also a number of locations in the east which could be developed, which would be within easy reach of a goodly number of users. And I leave the recommendation of sites to the Council of St Martin's and the Council of St Clements, who are much better placed to make those recommendations than I am. However, in this, and this is the key point for me, the original option of relocating the St Helier option at Kennerby does not stand up well to closer examination from a St Helier user's perspective, and in my mind, they will certainly make up the largest number of users, skaters in the island. Most, if not all, the current skate park users walk. Well, let's be honest, they skate to the park as it is within comfortable, convenient walking, skating distance. I would imagine the time taken from even more distant locations in town is probably about 15 to 20 minutes. However, so if you live in town and want to go to the new Kennerby Park if it's built, your options are as follows. You could walk, but that's not realistic as the shortest distance is about 4.5 miles. And with an average walking time of about an hour and a half, so it'd take you about 3 hours to do it that way. You could cycle, but you'd have to carry your board on the bike, and the shortest route is probably up the railway walk. And according to Google Maps, that'll take about 30 minutes each way. You could go on the bus. Now, I'm not the best at manipulating the bus timetables, but even my calculations reckon it's going to take you about 40 minutes each way. Alternatively, you could persuade your parents to take you there by car, mum or dad's taxis, it's usually known as. In summary, in my mind, it's not exactly the most convenient or conducive to popping out after school for a quick skate if you live in the centre of town. So really, from a town user's perspective, that the Kennerby option is probably not a particularly satisfactory or attractive option, not least if you want to use it during the week. So the survey to determine whether Kennerby Sports Centre or South Hill Gardens was the preferred site for Jersey's main skate park attracted more than 2,500 responses. When asked where would you prefer Jersey's Centre for Urban Sports to be, the response was as follows: Kennerby Sports Centre, 1,011 votes; South Hill Gardens, 1,502 votes, and that was 40% of those voting for the Kennerby and 59.8% of those voting for South Hill Gardens. So in that respect, I rest my case. However, I would not for 1 minute discount the many Western and Eastern-based youngsters for whom the town skate park is equally inconvenient for exactly the same reasons I've just outlined when looking at it from the perspective of a town skater. And so to the new proposed site and the issues being cited as the reason not to go ahead. The site is a prehistoric beach. That's not what the report and soil sample indicate. It says that this was more likely to have been the floor of a quarry for Fort Regent. And indeed, if you look at the site, that's what it looks like. And furthermore, if it is a prehistoric beach, it's already been disturbed by a number of utility cables that run through the site. Heritage is a grade 2 listed place. However, a planning pre-application advice has been submitted to the Historic Environment team. And as a result, a number of mitigating measures to make the plan acceptable were suggested. They also noted, and to quote, "The new facility would invigorate forgotten areas and create a new tourist attraction similar to the original area, which, to remind everyone, was in fact a park for the use of St Helier residents and their leisure. The rock faces would be an issue as it's unstable. An assessment's been undertaken and found that work would be required. It is feasible and within the scope of the budget. It is within a hazardous zone. Yes, but if you look at the report, it's only the outer zone, and the UK health and safety guidelines indicate the proposed development is acceptable. Noise has been cited as a reason, but when you look at the site, it's surrounded by cliffs and trees, so I cannot see, even though it is within 50 metres of some housing, it's going to be an issue. So in short, the issues that have been thrown at the project in the last days, certainly from my reading, would seem to be surmountable. So in summary, the proposal to put the main skate park in South Hill seems feasible, and it uses a bit of long forgotten and neglected area on South Hill, which in my mind would be, and I walk through the area quite frequently, would be delightful to see. It is away from residential areas, so noise shouldn't be an issue. Access is good via Fort Regent escalators and some town skaters who'd like to walk. It can be made safe within the budget according to the report. And it solves the long-standing issue of the current site with a viable issue for St Helier users, who are, in my mind, are the main users of the current park. And the thing that swings it for me, it has the support of the skaters, who in reality are the real people who should have a voice in this matter. So I urge members to support this amendment and give our skaters the park we have so long promised them. Thank you, sir.
Sir?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. I would like to ask the proposer of the amendment to answer 3 questions. And this question, if they can be answered at the closing speech clearly, it will help me to make my decision. And where I'm coming from, when I was elected as a deputy and the process around the skate park took place, as a St Helier deputy, I was surprised to see La Cannabe. And it took me time as St Helier, because I did think that St Helier is the best place to put the park. It's central, where most of the population live in St Helier or St Saviour, St Clement, suburban areas. When La Cannabe came to our table, to our attention, it took me time, and I got my head around and said, actually, it would be a good site. I can stand, I can work with it. Now it's all coming back, and both speeches were really convincing. I did listen to Senator Pallett with his proposition. I said, oh, it sounds right. And I did listen to Deputy of Trinity, and he was convincing as well. So from my perspective, I need some clarity, and the clarity which I would like to ask. First, it's the difference in the cost for South Hill and for Lacanave, including creating satellites. And if you can give clear numbers, this will cost South Hill, this will cost Lacanave, and this is the difference, it will be helpful. Second, a percentage or estimation of the possible planning refusal. And I would like Deputy of Trinity to let Assembly know if they have received communication from the Housing, Environment and Infrastructure from Development Control with their view and the possible problems with the planning application around heritage and around the risk areas. And the third, it's the timing. For me, I would like to see status with the park and what will be difference in delivering both sites. So timing, cost, and troubles with the planning, possible troubles with the planning applications. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Deputy Senator Butler.
Yes, thank you, sir. So listening to both the proposer of the original amendment and the amendment by the Council of Ministers, or should I say Deputy of Trinity. So I'm looking at it from the point of view of when I stood in the senatorial elections, and the skate park was actually quite a huge question on the hustings platform in many areas that we went to. So I do wonder whether what we're doing here is a question of managing risk and expectations. And what I mean by that is the managing of expectations. Page 3 of the report of the amendment refers to a number of consultations that have been taking place and the requirements around consultation, and many people referring to in the debate about where people want the particular skate park to go. Now, my concern is, as being a member of the States for a number of years, is the planning requirements that will be needed to achieve what's expected in terms of a skate park. And what I mean by that is, now that we're debating whether we should have it at Lacanave or whether we should have it at South Hill Gardens, will be taken out of our hands when it goes into planning. What I don't have in terms of consideration and managing those expectations in terms of certainty to have a skate park by the end of this term for the people that we represent, is that the planning expectations that are required around these two areas, which one is more feasible? Now, there is an issue, I believe, with both sites, but I think possibly one site might be more predicated on achieving the requirements of a skate park than the other, because of my own experience. But I shouldn't be voting on that basis. I should be voting on the basis that we're providing the best possible outcome for the people that we represent in the best way. But if I vote for this amendment, what I want to understand from Deputy Raymond or Deputy of Trinity around this is the risks that come with regards to the planning requirements. And that really does concern me, because there has been mention of rock faces. There are concerns around the leisure facilities that are on offer to our younger population in not just St Helier but St Clement as well, and also in the outskirts in terms of St Saviour's, the downward area of St Lawrence, all of those areas where children more likely to congregate and understand their peers and want to come together to enjoy a social gathering in an activity that they enjoy together. And so for me, I understand the arguments about why St Helier may be the appropriate place to put this. And the consultation that was done in January, I do wonder whether that consultation actually abided by the guidelines of consultation that we apply to all other things that government require in terms of consultation for policy development and for legislative changes that we ask the public for. My concern, and I want this explained absolutely clearly, because this shouldn't be about whether we politically want to throw each other under the bus, or whether we don't like what the other person is suggesting. There is an issue of governance, I believe, whether there is a case of political acceptance over which site should be the right one, and whether it's officers that have decided whether it's the right scenario for the public. But at the end of the day, it's managing expectations, and we should be requiring and ensuring that we have a site that is suitable for a skate park for our public, that asked us continuously throughout not just the elections, but also that Senator Pallett, when he was in the ministerial role, worked for, and now Deputy Trinity is working for, and the government are trying to put in place. So my concern is at the planning stage, in which if we now decide today to throw out the Le Kennevet option and go for South Hill, whereas South Hill might be more of a planning concern than what Le Kennevet may have been, then we're going to lose out on having any skate park whatsoever. So I do wonder whether this is an appropriate debate to have, and whether we should be putting the two sites forward in order to make sure at least we have one, and go forward with the next one with the right fight, with planning application in the right way, in accordance with the legislation that we have in place and the orders that we have to achieve a skate park for the public. That's our job. That's what we're being asked to do. That's what we're trying to achieve. And I'm not sure whether this is the right way to achieve it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, indeed, Senator. Deputy Hagerup.
Thank you, sir. As an assembly, we were briefed last Wednesday in relation to the change of track and looking at South Hill site. Just a number of days after we had debated West Hill in relation, or West Mount in relation to the new hospital. The concerns here for me are the same, from the perspective that we have yet again failed to consult or engage with any of the residents within the area of South Hill. I'm not a district representative for this area, but it concerns me greatly that we have not even bothered to take the time to ask what their views are or their opinions. There are many ways that we can engage with the public, and I'm fully aware that maybe the deputies from that district wouldn't have been able to do their normal with their associations, but I'm sure would have been able to, had they been given that notice, to do something in order that they could get some feedback from the residents. Firstly, also, I do not understand why the government have decided to change track when a decision had already been made for Le Kennevet, and can fully see what the previous speaker said in relation to, we continue to do this, we spend a very large amount of money, and then halfway through a process decide to go and do something different. There's an excellent sports facility at Le Kennevet, and I, as one, have used it over many years as a netball player when we still played outside, and we also utilised the facilities at FB Fields. As a sports person, you would go where your sport was, and you would make an effort in order to get yourself to that location. The facilities at Le Kennevet are well known, and that there is already large ancillary facilities nearby. Fully appreciating that St Helier is a central location, connectivity to Lekeneve is good, with a regular bus service every 15 to 20 minutes from early till late, with a cycle, also with a very good cycle track. South Hill will have already identified planning issues, but this is not my greatest concern. We are proposing to build a facility located on 4 different hills, which indicates to me that there is a potential danger. It does not matter if the bottom adjacent to the main road is well protected. There are still a number of other exit and entry routes, which will all be down a hill. And sir, knowing what I was like as a child, I'm not going to say that I would not have been one of those with my skateboard going down any one of those 4 hills. We are advised that the skate park will be a world-class facility and therefore an opportunity for Olympics, etc. But where will those spectators for this sport stand? When we were at that briefing last week, we were sort of given a view that it may be that they'd be able to stand on areas that weren't being used at that particular time. However, I'm not confident of that fact. Also, some sort of toilets, other facilities will have to be provided. This Lekeneve already has and would provide far more ability for a sport to have spectators watching by. And there's also facilities nearby for any family member who may wish to drop someone off at the Lekeneve facility and use other facilities themselves. For example, the sports centre, the squash courts and the swimming pool. I have requested comments from the States of Jersey Police, Honorary Police and Road Safety Officer in relation to this site, because as I said, I have real concerns about it. However, I have not been provided this information, even though I reminded 2 days ago that I wanted it prior to this debate. I am aware that many people think that following the pandemic, we may not have the money to progress this project. However, I do not agree with this principle. I think it's exactly the right time to be providing this facility and have something positive to put forward, not only to our young people, because I believe and I used to work with one. There are some of our older generation that also like to skate and use BMX bikes. So I think it is the right time to have this project, even though it's going to cost us over £1 million. But I would not support this amendment to the proposition, sir, because I genuinely believe that we have far more ability of being able to build a first-class facility at Lekeneve, which is less likely to be impeded by other outside factors. And so therefore, sir, from my perspective, I think Lekeneve is the best possibility. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Deputy. The Connotables and Clement.
Yes, thank you, sir. You know, I feel that we should feel a bit embarrassed about having this debate today, because I think it shows us in a pretty bad light. It shows how awful we are at making decisions and then remaking decisions and then remaking decisions again. This has got the potential to be worse than deciding where the new hospital was going to go. But what I do know at the moment, sir, is that I don't know which way I'm going to vote. But what I would like to know, what I would like to come out of this debate, as far as I'm concerned, is why all new sports facilities, all new community facilities, all new social facilities, and all new recreational facilities all have to go in the West or in town. I hope that Senator Pallett or the new sports minister or even Senator Farnham could explain that to me at some time during this debate. So I say that because even in St Clement alone, leaving aside Greville and St Martin for the moment, there are some 400 new homes coming to completion, increasing the population of this parish by at least 10%. But no new sports facilities, no new recreational facilities, no new social facilities, and no new community facilities. Why? Now, we talk about consultation. A lot's been said about consultation. Now, whatever we're going to do, if we go out to simple consultation, the town will win every time, because that is where a significant proportion of the population live. The Councillor of St Helier keeps talking about representation, how there should be more states members representing St Helier. Well, you know, that's where the centre of population is. So when you go to simple consultation, that's where the votes will go, and the rest of us will never get a look in. Consultation, sir. I had a letter, and I'm sure we all did, from what they call themselves, the Jersey Skate Parks Association. And just a quote from there: in the survey we ran in 2018, 50% of survey respondents lived in St Helier, St Saviour and St Lawrence, when compared with 31% living in St Ballard, St Peter and St Juan. And I've read through the letter a few times, sir, and I can find no reference whatsoever to Greville, St Martin or St Clement. We lose out again. Now, I've come to the conclusion, sir, that I don't really mind where the skate park goes. I think we should have it. And it would be nice, wherever it does go, to have a satellite facility in the east. But what is more important to me is a swimming pool in the east. Now, sir, I refer to the Pickering report. We'll all remember the Pickering report, don't we? It was commissioned by the States of Jersey Education Committee in 1989. It said, sir, and I'll quote from it, that in the longer term, there will be a requirement for a pool towards the east of the island, in the longer term. So, is 32 years long enough to be considered long term? Of course it is. And I'm pleased that the Sports Strategy Group, the new Sports Minister and the Planning Minister all support a new pool in the east. And I look forward to seeing that confirmed in the island plan. So I don't think I've contributed very much towards this debate. I hope I've shown my frustration at the way we're debating these things and deciding these things. And I will decide how I'm going to vote later on in the debate. Thank you for putting up with me, sir.
Thank you very much, Conor St Peter.
Thank you, sir, and I'm pleased to speak after my fellow constable from St Clement. Firstly, I do support do agree that we require a skate park and some facilities in the centre that are centrally located. If a second facility can be built at Lake Kenneveigh, that would be a bonus. But why, again, is the east of the island forgotten in these proposals? I do not, however, agree that South Hill is the best location. We have been told that development at South Hill is preferable, but we cannot ignore that parts of the site are already Grade 2 listed. We are putting at risk a site that it has both important geology and is historically significant. The geology is not, as suggested, all at the top of the cliff. I can recall, although it was many decades ago, a school trip to the area to see the unique geology in the rock face. The strip of black silica-type material running through the rock face, I believe, is unique in the island. The history of the site dates back to Neolithic period, through Napoleonic times, and finally its use as a World War II prison camp. Importantly, our own planning department in pre-planning advice have stated that it would be difficult to place a park there without causing significant damage to a Grade 2 listed place. I ask, would we allow a private development to take place on a Grade 2 listed site? I suspect not. For these reasons, I will not support South Hill as the preferred site. We should be working to preserve our heritage and not destroying it. I suggest we seek a site that will not damage our heritage and consider the facilities for both the west and the east of the island as well. I will reluctantly support the Kenneveigh site, as I generally believe that a central site is also required, and importantly also facilities in the east of the island. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Conor Tarb. Deputy Lewis.
Thank you, sir. So as Minister for Infrastructure, I have certain functions in this debate. When I first heard that the La Collette Garden site was being looked at again, I immediately said, well, who's asked for that? And I was told, well, it was the Assistant Minister for Sports at that time, Senator Pallett. Now, if Senator Pallett says that wasn't his meaning, then I take him at his word. Not a problem, not a problem. But with the subject in hand, I can't, in all conscience, promote La Collette Gardens. I know some people will be very upset by this, but I think it's a totally unsuitable site. Not so long ago, we had some rockfall there into the road. I think about 30,000 tons of rock actually spilled into the road. And even though the rope access teams did an absolutely superb job chiseling away and pinning the rock back that was remaining, there's nothing to say that it won't happen again. In a matter of fact, the weather we've had recently, we've had the wettest January for I think about 10 years, where you get water seeps into the cracks and ingresses, then freezes. It does tend to loosen rocks. So there will be a fenced off area all the way around, which will not be suitable to be used. My main concern is the fact that Mount Bingham is a major road leading down to La Collette. It is very well used, and cars do accelerate up the hill. And I just fear for the people using the area that I think it was the Constable one that pointed out that these youngsters don't actually walk to the skate park. They will skate to the park and skate from the park. This is human nature. As they come out of the area, they would go right and go down to La Collette, or left and go down to Arve Depart. If they come through the other way, that's not to be recommended, to walk through the reversing bays with people learning to drive. So there's quite a few things here. So when we had the rock fall at Mount Bingham, that was the last time the Constable of St Helier sent me a very, very nice letter, which I think I'll frame. But as I say, we do have things coming up in the pipeline. We are building a new town park. Maybe that's a space for a satellite skate park, BMX park, and obviously something in the east. But I say that it is quite dangerous. There's no facilities, there's no toilets there, and I believe that La Collette Gardens would be the wrong choice. As Minister for Infrastructure, if the states decide that's where they want it, then I'll be directed by the states. But I'm afraid I'm going to have to vote for the Kennerby. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Deputy. Deputy Ash.
Thank you, sir. I'd like to start by firstly saying I have an enormous amount of sympathy for Senator Pallett and his liturgy of woe he gave us at the beginning there, sir. I think when you've put as much effort and work into the project as he has undoubtedly done, it's very frustrating when you suddenly find that people turn around and go, yep, we can do this really quickly, but not where you put all that work and effort in. We can actually do it pretty much straight away without all the work and effort you put in. He must find that baffling. But what we're here now is not really to judge what went in the past, what has gone in the past. We're here to judge whether or not this is the best place to put what will be hopefully a brand new and fantastic facility for skateboarders. I have to confess, sir, that although I've played an enormous amount of sport in my time, from most ball sports, in fact, from rackets to rugby, skateboarding has never really entered my field of vision. And whilst I've watched rugby at Twickenham, cricket at Lords, football at Wembley, a Ryder Cup at the Belfry, tennis at Wimbledon, I've yet to visit South Bank, London, which, for those of you not in the know, Osprey voted the best skate park in the UK. This does, however, though, so give me one distinct advantage of looking at this, is that I can view it away from any inbuilt bias or sentimental bias. Now, whilst it is obviously important that, according to the surveys we heard read out a moment ago by the sports minister, that 60% of people surveyed voted for it to be in town. That's important, sir, but sometimes people's opinions are not always 100% correct. What is far more important for me is this, sir. We cannot keep building homes in and around St Helier and its environs, St Clement, massive number of new properties built there with a huge number of youngsters. We cannot keep building those and then turning around and saying, we've got a lovely little first-rate facility, shiny new skateboard park, or a school for that matter, which we just have got in St Prelad or Kennervay. We can't keep building all these things and saying, yes, you have all the houses here, but all the good facilities we're going to put elsewhere. Don't worry about it. If you want to have a skate, it's only half an hour away in a bus. Hop on there and enjoy it. I think for once, we have to give the young, and in this case, the wannabe young, of St Helier a break and give them a first-rate facility. One thing that did come out of this, in closing, in my doing a little research for skateboarding, was a wonderful quote from a skateboarder, which I think may well actually apply to many things, but he applied it to skateboarding. You don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. So, sir, let's get this thing started.
Very much, Deputy St Mary.
Thank you, sir. I think in normal circumstances, members will be entitled to expect some form of input from scrutiny on such a matter, and I therefore speak to say where we are. At the beginning of this assembly, the Economics International Affairs Scrutiny Panel did very much have this on their radar, and they have tracked it throughout the whole period to date. At quarterly hearings, it was a standing item on our agenda, and until very recently, we had understood that it was again on track, so it's a minor delay and that planning was almost imminent. Either Senator Pallett or the Deputy of Trinity or both have referred to a public hearing we had in December when, to our astonishment, I have to say, we were told that there was a rival plan, if I can call it that. I think, in fact, with great respect, I think the new Assistant Minister of Sport was similarly surprised. And that was where we were. Until that date, we had assumed or thought that we were on course. The matter was on course for Lake Kennervay. We had no reason to doubt that its pedigree was being investigated. And certainly we'd had no intimation from the department that there was an alternative site being considered, and on which we might possibly have had some view or had the opportunity to review in some way. So that is where we are. Subsequently, we have had a presentation from the department. We've written 2 open letters for more details and had open replies, and they do yes, respond to the questions we asked in a certain way, but my overall concern is that the integrity of scrutiny should not be upset or questioned on this, and we therefore must take a strictly objective course. There has been another consultation and a survey. In other circumstances, we might well have reviewed this on a number of counts, and in fact may well still do so, depending on how the vote goes. But for the moment, I do not think that I, either as chair of the panel or as an individual, will feel comfortable in voting one way or the other. I'm afraid I'm not opting out, but it is a matter for the Assembly to decide where they want to go, and then I shall be, with a clear conscience, be able to steer the panel in whatever review we might take on. I have to say that I'm sympathetic to some of the many of the concerns raised by other members, and I identify particularly with that from Senator Valois, she put in the chats, why not submit both applications now and get on with them both? I don't quite know how near we are to the Le Kennevay application, but it does seem to me almost that this assembly is yet again being treated as a 49-man committee, and we should not be concerned with that. But I think I've said enough, sir. The panel is standing back from this at the moment. The assembly will decide what it wants to do, and we are on hand to pursue in a review whatever is appropriate to do so in the circumstances. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Deputy. Deputy Truscott.
Yes, thank you, sir. And I'm sure all members remember back at the last election, as Senator Valois reminded us, we were all heavily lobbied over the provision of a skateboard park, and certainly I think the majority of us were fully in favour of it. And I've got to commend Senator Pallett for getting it to the position that he did in his short term at Sport as the Assistant Minister. It's just there's a number of issues, and I did mention earlier when I asked the question, and I'm sure whichever one goes forward this afternoon, I'm pretty sure we'll see them as appeals at the planning committee stage. But that's all said and done. I want to thank, first of all, the Minister and his Assistant Minister, Senator Farnham, and the Deputy of Trinity, and their officers for putting on a really good presentation for all States members last week. It was extremely informative, and one of the officers, and I'm sure all members will remember, was waxing lyrical regarding South Hill Gardens. And believe me, being on the planning committee and understanding the laws, etc., there are, without doubt, and I won't go into them, there's an enormous amount of challenges there that need to be addressed. But all said and done, nothing is surmountable. I am a great believer in democracy, and the survey went out, and the vast majority of respondents are supportive of South Hill Gardens. I think if it could be there, then I think it's a win-win situation. We could have the satellite at St Brelard and one out east as well. I think the things that does concern me are the amount of U-turns that have gone on. It reminds me of the fictional Mario Brothers plumbing system. There have been more U-turns than you'd find in one of their systems. But and I find it a shame that, as you say, we've made such good progress so far today, but we are where we are. I can talk all day long about the St Brelard location because it's in my district, and I can't determine it on the planning committee. And there are, as Senator Pallett knows, and I think it's a lot of the immediate neighbours, those living in Don Farm and the immediate estates facing the playing fields, and those along the railway walk in Kennevay Park, who have major concerns regarding the proposals going forward. And I think, as the Senator well knows, when he was Constable of St Brelard and the current incumbent Constable Jackson, of the amount of antisocial behaviour there is even today in the area. Constantly on the weekend, officers are being called out to various skirmishes, particularly around that area. I think there's a genuine concern from the immediate neighbours that this will only increase with the building of the major, if it was to go there, skate park in that area. And it's not that all skateboarders, and I was reminded this by one of the representatives of skateboarding fraternity, the majority are extremely well behaved. They take the sport seriously and conduct themselves in a very admirable way. It's always the minority that will spoil it for the majority. And I think it's just that when that is the case, as you say, it spoils it for everyone. There is concern that there'll be that effectively if it is located at the Lekene playing fields, there'll be no open or closed time. It'll be a 24/7, 365 facility, and that gives a lot of people a great concern as well. I mean, certainly during the summer holidays, we could have people camping up there, you know, and using the facility. And that's, you know, you can generally understand the neighbours concerned along these lines. There's light pollution as well, should the facility be floodlit. Close to the SSI, it is a nature reserve of high quality. So there's all those issues that will have to be paid attention to. The budget concerns me as well. The Minister did assure members that the main park could be built at South Hill Gardens and the two satellites. I think the original concept, and I'm sure the Minister will come up, and if he could just reiterate that the original concept was to build a brand new main skate park and two purpose-built skate parks as well, sir. And it would seem that with this proposal, we're going to end up with a bit of a compromise with some of the existing skate park going up to Lekene. So there's already a bit of a degradation in what was being proposed. And I think because of the planning challenges that South Hill Park could potentially present, that the cost could go up significantly. And that is another concern of mine, that if it is the case, then you know, any further delay would be most regrettable. It's town for me has always been the main place it should go. I'm just sorry they couldn't find anything else, whether it's Springfield, People's Park, or somewhere like that. But because I'm so conscious, being a planning committee member, that we have actually approved so many flats in the area. Green Street, for example, they're in the process of building many new units there. And that will be ideal for the youngsters that move in. They'll have this wonderful facility just up the road should they want to. But it's been the whole, and we often are criticising the system in so much as there's no joined up thinking about, you know, the facilities in town, the open green spaces, facilities for youth, nurseries, you know, you name it. There's just that not joined up thinking. And I'm hoping that when Deputy Russell gets in at housing, that these type of things can be addressed as well. So overall, as I say, I'd be in favour of St Helier. Two satellites, it sounds a good idea. I just hope that we can produce this within this term. I think it's a good idea. Possibly, why not put both propositions into planning and see which one comes out on top. But so in the meantime, I'll be listening with interest to what other members speak. Thanks, sir. You're muted, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Deputy the Conor-Tarbison. John.
Thank you, sir. As St One's, we here in St John have our own skate park, and I think it's right that I pay tribute to the 4 youngsters who, about 15 years ago, aged in their between 10 and 12, they got together, they started fundraising, and they raised half the money for the St John's skate park. The other half was matched by a parish charity, and we ended up with a skate park. Whilst I have very little input as constable, I do have to say the buck stops here when it comes to the skate park, because the parish pays the rent and the insurance for the skate park. One thing that has disappointed me enormously is there's been a lot of talk about satellite parks around the island, and there's been talk of increasing or doing something with St John's. And yet the first consultation I had was an email last week, and I am meeting an officer this Friday. So I can say that the consultation that's taken place has certainly not been with me or anybody I know at our skate park, but I may be incorrect. So we live on an ideal island. It's fantastic. We are so lucky. We've got beautiful views. We've got so many things that are going for us. The problem is that when you set up an ideal island and then you want to add to it, that creates a problem. Where do you add something to it? And one is then immediately into a position of compromise. So if we want a skate park, we're going to have to compromise something somewhere along the line. I have significant reservations over West Hill, or South Hill rather. I don't think it's a site suitable for a skate park. And when I saw the drawings, it appears to me to be too large for the site. I fully understand the argument that we should have the main park where the population is in St Helier, but the rugby club is out at St Peter's. Other facilities are dotted around the island, and so I see no real obstacle in putting it the skate park at Les Quennevets. Finally, sir, I'm glad that I still think, or she still thinks the same way as I do. My former St John's deputy, Senator Valois, when she put into chat, submit both planning applications and get on with it. And that very much is what I wrote down in my notes, is submit both plans and build whichever one comes first. Because what we need to do as an assembly is to deliver a skate park and stop talking about it. Thank you, sir.
Time, but Deputy Labby.
Sorry, yes. Hello. Well, I think we're getting to that stage where we're all starting to repeat ourselves, because I agree with everything that the last four speakers have said in this debate. It's a very, very difficult one for me because of two things. I haven't been able to talk about it with the Halfdead Park Improvement Group. There's been no representation to them. Difficult because we've not been meeting during COVID. I appreciate that. And two, whilst I've heard selective quotes from planning advice, I haven't seen the full advice from the historic environment team. And by the way, if they gave this the green light, I've got issues, but if they gave that the green light, the historic environment, if it's fine with them, it will be absolutely fine with me. My problem is not seeing a full report from HE, is that I can't help feeling that because this is a listed place and a historic environment, that it contravenes completely policies HE1 and SP4, which are there to protect places exactly like this, because you're taking something urban and placing it in something urban and alien and placing it in this kind of special environment, which is tricky. Maybe there's mitigation, and that would be good to see. I feel a bit like we're being asked to make a decision without all the facts here, and it does feel like I've never left the planning committee, and that of course is not what the States is, but we are hearing little bits of information that one would hear on the planning committee, but not the full picture. So I don't want to pour cold water on this. I think it is fantastic that Senator Farnham and the Deputy Trinity and Senator Pallett are all massively championing skate parks, because I was the first person to bring the skateboarders together in a meeting I called and had some posters designed and put them up with somebody from the skateboard community, and I got them all together. And we had a packed town hall with the help of the Constable of St Helier, and Senator Pallett came as well and sat on the panel with me, and we were there to listen to that community, and they are a fantastic community. They police themselves. There's skateboarders of all ages. There's parents with their skateboarding children, skateboarding parents with their skateboarding children, and they were done a terrible disservice when the announcement of the closure of the skate park on the pier was announced, and the reason given that the skateboarders were vandalising the harbour. Those pictures on the front page of the Jersey Evening Post of hoodies tipping stuff in the harbour or climbing around, whatever they were doing, were not from the skateboard community. They're fantastic and they're not antisocial. And I want to, that meeting, by the way, was 3 years ago last week. It was before the last elections of February 2018. And we talked in terms of maybe getting a new skate park in a year or 18 months or 2 years. And here we are 3 years down the line. And is that the bell to go for my speech?
No, you've only been speaking for 3 minutes, 18 seconds.
Okay, well, that's, yeah, like one of my answers yesterday. I'm concerned that we don't have the full facts. I think it's really regrettable that I mean, one of the best things I heard in the very good briefing we had on this was Senator Farnham saying he wants both sites, you know, the proper one at the Kennervay, not the bits and bobs carted up there from St Helier when that finishes, and this one, or somewhere like this one. But I'm worried that that this planning application is going to take a long time, by which time we could have built Le Kennervay. And so I don't know what I'm going to do in terms of voting, but I do think if this does go ahead, alternatives should be looked at the same time, because actually getting this built could be a long way away, because I do foresee difficulties in the planning application process for this because of the sensitivities. Not the prehistoric beach, it's the fact that it's the setting and the siting and what that does, and the sensitivities of that, and what an urban skate park will do to that. And maybe there's mitigations, and that would be great, but it's going to take some time. And so let's have both. And I don't know what to do on this one.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chief Minister.
Yes, thank you, sir. I think the one thing I am taking some delight in this debate says at least there does appear to be huge support for a skateboard park, irrespective of where it actually turns out to be. I'll try and make a couple of comments which I hope are helpful, sir, in moving things forward. One in relation to Deputy Gardner. In terms of, although I'm sure the three queries will be addressed by the rapporteur when he sums up, there was a pack sent to all members on Monday, sir, which, as far as I could tell, seemed to cover, I think, all of her questions. But I'm sure the rapporteur will respond. But they are in that pack, and it was quite a thorough one, I would have said. And also to address actually my understanding of the position, and I fully accept I have not been as close to it as certain other people have been. But from what I can understand on the timing, sir, there is almost no difference between the two sites in terms of timing, because both of them will still have to make a planning application. And the intention is certainly absolutely to commence construction this year. And from what I understand, to, as far as possible, complete it this year. That's the plan. And so I think the aim here is to try and just get a move on. I am concerned, in fact, a little bit like with Westmount, sir, as that we are actually in danger of second guessing a planning application, because there are an awful lot of issues that are coming through, and I know I'm going to stray into it slightly, but only from quoting what the information that has been done already. And surely, actually, to an extent, I've got a lot of sympathy for what's been said by a number of people already, that perhaps actually the solution is to go for two applications and see which one comes through. Because although, and just to put a couple of things to rest, and it was in the pack, and I think actually was communicated to scrutiny as well, there is, in relation to geological SSIs and ecological SSIs, the site is adjacent to, but outside, for example, a geological SSI. It is adjacent to, but outside of an ecological SSI. That's the South Hill site. It also makes the point, obviously there are other areas that have planning aspects there. It does also state in something that should be noted, which is actually one of my big concerns, that the Kennebec Sports Centre site is within designated protected open space and immediately adjacent to the Coastal National Park, the listed place Grade 1, Les Blanches-Banques, and the ecological SSI. It is also known that various protected species of bat use the adjacent trees for roosting and foraging. That's the Le Kennebec sites, and it does raise the issue about what do you do, or what does one do about floodlighting and things like that. So neither site is perfect, and that is what we have to do. For my part, I'll address a couple of other points and then get to the sites themselves. Again, what was sent round to members in terms of the more recent survey that was done, which is the one that's been quoted already, which was roughly, from memory, a 60-40 split in favour of South Hill. But it is interesting, so that in terms of the Kennebec neighbours, and yes, there were slightly more than South Hill that responded, about 338 according to this slide. Just over, or just around a third of those supported South Hill, and I guess on that basis 2/3 supported Le Kennebec. But interesting enough, sir, and funny enough the other way, of 140 that responded who defined themselves as neighbours of South Hill, 85% supported South Hill, and only 15% supported Le Kennebec. So it does indicate that there was some form of surveying going on. I'm not privy to the full details. I've not gone into that level of detail, sir. That did look at this information and did speak to, or certainly received responses from neighbours in the vicinity. I think the other point is, again, within the pack that's been provided to members, it does talk about the various risks. It talks about access, it talks about vehicles and things like that, and it does talk about the mitigations that could be in place and essentially to bring the risks down to low. It also makes, again, a comment around, for example, rockfalls, and it essentially says that the assessment that has been done concluded that no major and financially unviable stabilisation or netting works would be required to ensure the safety of skate park users. And I'm going to try and stop there, so in terms of veering into the areas of planning matters, because I think actually that is very much to be determined by any planning decision. What I will say is that I did briefly visit the site, visit South Hill, sir, earlier this week, and I actually have to say that I think there were two thoughts that crossed my mind. One is, I think it could make a fantastic site, and I'll touch on that shortly, in terms of providing this facility. I think the other one, which is only brought to mind by the comments around heritage settings, geological issues, all that type of stuff, is very clear, and certainly from the photographs I took and what was there when I visited, and also from what I've seen in the past. At the very least, the JEC, I don't know about any of the other utility companies, have got about, my guess, 16 to 18 ducts that go straight through the site that is apparently, if I've understood it correctly, of geological interest. So they've already dug it up. And also, as far as I can see, I will rephrase it, as I understand it, the site has also previously been quarried. So there's that side of things. The other side is that there is actually a rather significant, the word substation probably doesn't cover it, but it's when, and I remember being invited, I think, to the opening, sir, in a former guise, when the big electricity line from France was brought through that brings in something like, I think it's 90,000 volts rather, for the supply of either the island or St Helier, or I think it's the island, sir, and that the substation that distributes that power is right next door to the way we're talking about. It fits in very nicely, but obviously they would have to go through all these kind of heritage issues, I would assume, for the settings in the same way. So it does show it is possible to build something which is probably even more unsightly than what we might be talking about. But that brings me to setting, actually, and I'm not going off tangents about. I think it was 2017. In fact, I think it was with the Deputy of St. Ouen at the time. We were in Luxembourg attending the Assemblée Parlementaire de la Francophonie, the European conference, and I was revisiting old ground, as it were, and went for a walk. And it was a parkland area in a gorge that surrounds the town that has heritage assets. Part of it's historic fortifications. It has either a viaduct or an aqueduct that goes across. It is definitely a sensitive location, and it is also one that is visited by families and with walks and essentially planting and, if you like, parkland in a relatively narrow context. Obviously, as a gorge. And we were walking along there and we came across the skateboard facility, which I have to say I thought was fantastic. It was well used, it didn't disturb anything, and it was very, very well designed and absolutely blended in what should have ordinarily been a sensitive area, and it fitted perfectly. And I was delighted to understand very, very recently that the firm that has been successful in its tendering for the skateboard park over here, irrespective of where it is located, is the same firm that produced that particular site that I saw some 3 years ago. And as I said, it was a fantastic facility, and it really gave me actually encouragement that that is who we are going to be using to do it. So, and I think really, sir, from to try and wrap up from what I wanted to say, is I'm going to go back to the Jersey Skate Parks Association, rather, who sent the letter through earlier this week. And to me, that is the bit that puts me in the position of supporting the amendment, sir, of supporting South Hill. However, so with the caveat that actually I think we should do the application for both and then see which one comes out. I suspect all of them will have inherent problems. There's no perfect solution. But what I'm going to just read, sir, is about 3 extracts. One is that although Le Quennevay is a really great place for a skate park, building the main park there first would be a mistake. In effect, it would create a painful gap in the amenities available to those who most need it, adding to the obvious shortage of St Helier facilities and to an increasingly painful east-west divide. They've talked about the survey that's been referred to, but they do make the point further on in the letter. They know that the density of under 18s of that age group is greatest in and around town as well, and they expect in general terms a far higher level of use at South Hill, and I think that's important. And what they conclude, sir, is that we strongly feel that the most important group of skate park users are the younger islanders, particularly those based in and around St Helier. And for me, sir, that is a deciding point. And from that, sir, I think I would ask members to support the amendment. Let's see where we go. I think we are all behind the skateboard park. I think we let the planning process run, and for that basis, I'll be supporting the amendment, sir. Thank you.
There's a point of clarification raised by Senator Gorst. Senator Gorst, do you have a point of clarification from the Chief Minister?
Yes, I do. So if I may, I know it's quite unusual, but the Chief Minister has just made a commitment there that the Minister for Economic Development responsible for sports matters will work with the Minister for Infrastructure and the Minister for Infrastructure, despite what he said in his speech of not wanting to put an application in, will make an application for both sites. I wonder if the Chief Minister could confirm that, because I think that's a very helpful point that he made, and I just would like that clarified, sir. Thank you.
Sir, I'm happy to clarify. I didn't actually make a commitment, I will say, sir. I did actually say I would support, I think. And certainly, sir, for me, I'm always happy to leave it with the Minister for Economic Development and obviously and as Assistant Minister. But if it would help matters move forward, I'd be very happy to commit that we actually, yes, sir, I can see Senator Farnham has put it in the chat. I was going to leave him to sum it up, but I would be very supportive if Senator Farnham is we do 2 applications, and then that breaks the logjam that we seem to be in, sir. That seemed to be a pragmatic way forward, and would then allow the planning process to determine the appropriate location. But so I stand by the point that I think the if that helps as the clarification, I'm sure Senator Farnham can deal with that in his speech at some point, sir, and I'll leave that with him. But if that was a way forward for me, that would be a very appropriate way of dealing with matters. I still say, sir, that from my perspective, I think South Hill does have the edge on the basis of the particular submissions we've received from the GSA.
Thank you, sir.
And Senator Valway, you have a point of order?
Yes, thank you, sir. Will the decision of the states have an impact on the planning decision? And if so, if the states vote one over the other, does this stop for both being able to be applied for the state's planning obligations that's been suggesting that we can go forward with?
I'm not sure that's a point of order. It's not a point, I think, for the presiding officer to determine. I imagine that will depend upon who would need to put the necessary applications in, but the states will have expressed its view by a vote as to which of the relevant areas it prefers and the nature of the application. And I suspect that is the nature of the application that will be made, but I can't give advice on that. That's not a matter for the presiding officer. I don't think it's a legal question either, I have to say, but it may be a matter that the Attorney General can assist with.
Okay, thank you, sir. I just wanted to understand whether by us as a States Assembly voting on one or the other site would prevent the government from going forward to planning for both applications.
Well, it depends. I mean, if the states accept the amendment, then that is the will that it has expressed to the government of the island, and the government of the island will presumably feel itself obligated to act upon that expression of will, one way or the other.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Very well. Deputy Pamplin.
Thank you, sir. Timing, as I've learned in my short career as a politician, is everything. And there's a lot of things that are converging on what looks on the surface as just an amendment debate on the location of a skate park. But for somebody who has studied this process very closely, it's much like the pandemic has exposed a lot of things. So dealing with the amendment and the what has been put forward as the new Assistant Minister outlined in his opening speech is concerning on many levels, and I'll deal with this. In the round, this could have been one of the most important moments in this Assembly's tenure and the current government in building not just the skate park, which has others have mentioned has been a subject of much discussion and lobbying in the last election, but actually a bridge with the younger members of the island community. Because during that last election, the way the young people came together to push their views and ideas, to lobby professionally, was nothing short of impressive, which is why it became such a big part of this government's government plan. So much as it's as important to islanders, there's many other issues it is now touched upon. And as I only mentioned the other day on the subject of timing, when I was asked by a journalist in the Jersey Evening Post about facilities in town after an incident was reported, I said, you know, growing up in town when I was a youngster, I lived in the old Ann Court. I used to go to Seaton Youth Club, Sounds Workshop, really spend my time at Funland, on the beaches and the parks, swimming at Fort Regent. My children live in a very different island now, where a lot of stimulation and activities like that no longer exist in town. And as other members have said, there's facilities dotted around the island now in certain parishes. Bowling Alley out west, Jersey Rugby Club have developed their development and interest in rugby for young people. There are various locations, but town has Sufton, there's a lot of young people. And what are they doing? As a parent, and as many other parents as the Assembly can attune, they're turning to their devices, which was something that has become a bit more of an issue during the pandemic. So it is absolutely right that young people are saying we want things for us where we live, in town, in other parts of the area that are accessible. Also on the timing issue, we were brought to the Assembly to discuss a planning application that, as Deputy Lehegra mentioned, the road at Westmount, for one of the biggest conversations and plannings, and where promises and reassurance we're going to do these things, the hospital. And we still don't have that. And as we're seeing, that is still playing out. So this is where it depresses me, because young people have come forward to engage with the politics of this island, and not to be caught in the processes and pitfalls of governments and interests and bureaucracy. So we have to apologise to them, because that's exactly what's happened here. It's caused division in the skateboard community, in islanders, in parishioners and politicians. It's produced further disbelief and mistrust, and how could this be? And I can say that with certainty, as other members have mentioned, the Deputy Summary mentioned quite rightly, in a scrutiny hearing last December, this is where we discovered things had changed, when the new Assistant Minister, only just taking over, announced something effectively live on air that threw all of us. Deputy Luce then probed with further questions, I did, and others, and we couldn't wrap our head around it. How did that happen? Who made that decision? That's not coming through here, and that's worrying. Last Sunday, I took myself to South Hill. I have shared photographs on my Twitter account, and I've shared those images with certain members. There are many, many issues. I'm grateful also for the Infrastructure Minister with his concerns. One thing that really struck me very quickly is it's in the blast zone, the evacuation zone for Le Colette site. You follow the signs round and it takes you round the cycle path to the other end. What if something happened and we had to evacuate that area? We didn't think we'd be dealing with a pandemic, but here we are. Has that really been considered? And as other members have said, the consultation with residents, they were just as shocked as members of the association during that live scrutiny hearing. Also, Jersey Sport, who had supported the plan for Le Keneve, as we were told in that scrutiny hearing, I'm paraphrasing, but I am quoting at the same time, when we asked why the sudden change, that a complication or thoughts concerning the master plan for the whole Le Keneve site had been brought forward. So if this is the case, what happened to the original process, where much money, much time, much resource went in to the original process that concluded Le Keneve was the right site? Why was that not picked up then? Then, during the summer, same scrutiny panel, we had a private hearing about the future development of sports facilities, including Le Keneve, Springfield and other areas. No one was really concerned about the Le Keneve skate park. 22nd of October, the Constable St. Brelard was quoted, and I've got the article, it's on one of the local media websites, that his belief was that it was in the wrong place. So there has been many opinions played out here, but I want to finish my speech at this stage on the original report that was published by government, where, and I quote from the final report and question 4 of the consultation, which specifically asked respondents for their comments or suggestions on the proposal to locate the new skate park at Le Keneve. Of the 697 responses received to question 4, 256 responses specifically stated support for or agreement with the conclusion that Le Keneve is the most suitable site for the facility. Only 61 comments received generally disagreed with Le Keneve being a suitable or more suitable site for the facility. So that leaves 401 respondents that did not air any views, arguably, as the government said, led in favour that they had no issues. So the following recommendations in that government report said the following. The conclusions are the new skate park project should be progressed. Le Keneve Sports Centre should be adopted as the site for the main skate park. The main skate park should be supported by additional skate-friendly areas island-wide. A further study into the suitability of sites for additional skate-friendly areas should be undertaken. There was no sense then, there is no sense now that a political decision has been made. So what is the truth here? What is the transparency? What has happened? Are we politicians or not? As others are alluding to, as even the Chief Minister has now said himself, surely the obvious answer here is put forward 2 sites. We can have an urban, designed, fit for purpose skate park that can accommodate the needs of St Helier. We could also have a skate park, as we've seen, in the west of the island, in a safe place at the Canopy. Because the final thought, when we saw the plans that suddenly emerged, and we know they're not the final design plans, as a parent, as an islander, if there had been any real genuine thought for the welfare and the safety of our children, why was there no protective barriers in that original first design? Why didn't anybody look at that and go, the skate park looks good, sir, but why have you not instinctively put something there to show the island safety first, children first? So I ask again, where's the transparency? So hopefully, sir, the minister will, we can stop this debate as others are alluding to, and we can have 2 sites put forward. But this amendment must be turned back. That's what this assembly is all about. Thank you, sir.
Very much. Colin Anderson-Brillard.
Thank you, sir. And prior to speaking, I'd like to ask your advice, if I may. And there's been suggestion that 2 applications ought to be made, and it seems to me, sir, to achieve that, the item will either need to be moved, referred back, or we move on to the next item. So is that achievable, and will that achieve the result that members wish? Would you be able to advise on that?
What I can't advise is that any deferral of the proposition will achieve the making of 2 separate applications. That's outside the terms of the proposition. But if the proposition isn't to proceed today, it can be withdrawn only with leave of the Assembly. It can be subject to an application to move to the next item, or it could be referred possibly to scrutiny. I'd have to check up on that for consideration. But that would seem, unless there is a reason to go to scrutiny, that there is members may feel that that's not an appropriate way forward, but it certainly would be possible it certainly would be possible to move to the next item if that application were made in due form.
I might be able to assist, sir, without making a speech, but just by making a suggestion.
Well, at the risk of opening the door to many other people making contrary suggestions, Senator, yes, what would you
thank you. Brief, sir. The Economic Development Ministerial team, sir, had agreed prior to the debate that it would be sensible to make 2 planning applications, sir, and we have undertaken to do that, sir, in the interests of saving time, because I think regardless of what the States Assembly agree, we all agree we need a new skateboard park, sir. So that is the position, and perhaps if the bringer of the proposition, sir, was prepared to accept that, sir, the timeline is planning application by the end of February. We undertake to submit 2 planning applications, sir, then I think we can save ourselves quite a bit of time.
Well, is that an undertaking you'd be giving to the Assembly on the part of the government then, Senator, to submit 2 applications?
Yes, it is.
Well, then it's a matter, I suppose I must first ask the Deputy of Trinity, whose proposition amendment it is that we're currently debating, if that were acceptable to the mover of the main proposition, would you be prepared to accept that as well, Deputy?
Yes, sir, I would.
Then, Senator Pallett, in the light of that undertaking, how do you wish to proceed? Do you wish to continue with the matter today, or do you wish to withdraw the matter on that undertaking, with the leave of the Assembly, of course?
So it is my main proposition, and I had briefly discussed the opportunity for progressing 2 sites with the Minister previously, I would, but it has to also be on the undertaking that there is no effect or no financial effect, or the financial effect is not going to impact on the delivery of satellite facilities around any other satellite facilities that were originally agreed, because the issue is that the funding, the overall funding, is not available to deliver this within the 1.285 million. So I don't know how we're going to resolve a budgetary issue today when the money's not been the money's not been discussed with Treasury. We don't know where the money's going to come from to do that. In terms of the two, sorry. In terms of agreeing to go to 2 planning applications, I think as long as it's on the basis that we are going to deliver the other elements of the project, then the answer would be yes.
Thank you, sir. If I can respond briefly, sir. So the undertaking would be to submit 2 planning applications. So I think it is clear that the budget is available for 1 main park and a very good satellite facility. If we want to do more than that, and I believe we should, because the amendment does say satellite facilities in the west and the east, and this is an investment in our children and our future, sir, it is likely we will need to find some more funds, sir. But I would hope that given the current circumstances of pandemic and this important investment in our young people, sir, the Assembly and Treasury would all help to achieve that, sir, which in the current scheme of things would not be a lot. But all I can reaffirm, sir, is that we're absolutely committed to doing this job, sir, to doing it quickly, sir, and to doing it properly.
Thank you, Senator. I note that 2 other members at least have indicated a desire to speak, and Senator Volwar, you certainly have already spoken in this debate. Therefore, I'm assuming you're wishing to speak on the current exchange and the current matters. I'm running the risk of moving into a very unorthodox process, which doesn't really apply within standing orders at all. I'll allow a limited amount of discussion to continue on this to see if something can be resolved which is acceptable to the move of the proposition, failing which we will have to continue unless someone proposes something under standing orders which we can put into effect. Senator Volwar, did you wish to say something very brief indeed on this matter to assist this discussion?
Yes, no, thank you, sir. It's extremely brief, based on the Minister's comments that he's just made with regards to the proposition. Can I ask him to make a commitment that he'll bring a proposition forward that will seek to put forward a planning application for the 2 areas, and that the budget requirements will be sought in an appropriate manner under the required public finances requirements in terms of the laws and governance processes?
And that's what you've asked the Minister, that's what you've asked Senator Farnham to bring forward?
Yes, thank you, sir. He made the point that that's what he was planning to do on the basis of withdrawing this particular amendment. If that was to go ahead, I just want some concrete reassurance that that would be the case.
If you want to make an observation, Deputy of St Martin, I said that I would hear that, but I'm moving to the point where I don't think this can be, we can't carry out a negotiation in the margins of a formal debate before the State's Assembly. But did you wish to say something, Deputy of St Martin?
Thank you, sir, for your toleration. This is not my speech. I just want to register my unhappiness about the way this debate is going. The Minister's promised to put 2 sites forward. We can see in some figures which were given to scrutiny, which we've had since last Friday and have not had time to look at. There's a massive discrepancy with the money left over for satellite facilities, depending which site you choose. I'm very, very concerned about the way this is going, and I don't think this will deliver what we require. Thank you, sir.
Well, I have a further, I don't think we can continue with a negotiation in the margins, particularly during a formal sitting of the States. I think there are a number of ways that this can proceed.
The first possibility is for the move of the proposition, having heard what has been said, to withdraw with the leave of the Assembly. The second is for someone to propose and move on to the next item. Or the third is that we, given the lateness of the hour, which is now 5 o'clock, half an hour before, then the next possibility would be to adjourn the matter overnight and resume on the continuation day tomorrow morning, and members would have had the opportunity to discuss and iron out whatever the position and agreements might be, and we can reach, at least we will know tomorrow morning whether it can be withdrawn or proceeded with. Those seem to me to be the three possibilities. But I note that we had paused during the course of the Constable St Prahlad speech. He is entitled to continue, and he has indicated in the chat that he wishes to propose to move to the next item. And that is something that I can consider if that proposition is made. I note that Senator Pallett asked to speak. Senator, I'm not sure there's much that can be said unless you wish to withdraw or defer your proposition, because otherwise it's not your turn to speak at this stage. But if it's either of those two things, do you wish to speak at this moment?
Sir, can you clarify what you mean by defer?
Well, I think my suggestion would be the only mechanism to do. You can either withdraw it with the leave of the Assembly, that is provided for in standing orders. You can ask to adjourn the entire sitting until tomorrow morning, which is a continuation day, and we're now, I'm pretty well at 5 o'clock, well, just after 5 o'clock, and therefore it's unlikely without a significant continuation this evening we'd be able to conclude public business today. And that also would be a matter for the Assembly, but those appear to me to be the two options. Alternatively, it is open to the Constable St Prahlad to continue his speech, and if he wishes therein to make a proposition to move to the next item. I'm only allowing you to speak at this point because you are the mover of the main proposition, and you may wish to bring a procedural position to the state.
So may I ask then, with the leave of the Assembly's approval, that we adjourn for this evening, because obviously the Assembly is not the place for negotiation, that I speak with Senator Farnham overnight and we start again tomorrow morning. There is obviously there's still another proposition to be heard, so I don't think we're going to get through all the business tonight, and if we could, and this debate, if we carry on, I think it's going to take some time to conclude. So can I ask for the adjournment tonight?
Well, let me just deal with one procedural position. The Constable St Prahlad, will you permit an application for the adjournment now that you're halfway through your speech?
Yes, sir.
In other words, if we adjourn until tomorrow, you can continue with your speech at that point.
Thank you, sir. I would be happy to do that. Thank you.
Very well. So you propose the adjournment then, Senator Pallett. Is that proposition seconded?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Yes. Yes.
Does any member wish to speak on the proposition, which is that we adjourn this debate until tomorrow morning, when the Constable St Prahlad will continue with his speech, unless some form of other agreement has been reached? I will take it as a standing vote if nobody indicates they wish to speak on this matter. I've heard nobody indicate that they wish to speak. Accordingly, I accept on a standing vote that the states have resolved to adjourn today and resume this debate first thing tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. Accordingly, the Assembly stands adjourned until 9:30 tomorrow morning. Thank you.